in order to be open, in order to prepare for this coming of Christ within us, this Advent, which is what life really is, an Advent, preparation for the constant coming of God. Be open to the Holy Spirit. Now, that mostly means reject sin. Live in a state of grace. You can't have, how do you expect God to live in a dirty house? He doesn't. You've got to clean up the house. God isn't going to live in the same house with a bunch of devils. You got to reject sin. Welcome God within. So, the Holy Spirit and the Blessed Mother. When the Holy Spirit overshadowed Mary, that's the incarnation. The Word became flesh, and in due time, she gave birth to him. Where? In Bethlehem. I'll talk about that in a few weeks. Bethlehem, the word means house of bread. Interesting that the bread of life, Jesus, would be born in a place that means house of bread. And so, let's say you do all this. Let's say you have a real good Advent. Your life is an Advent, a preparation for the coming of Jesus in the soul. Remember what happened at Christmas, right? Circumstances. Christmas. There was no room at the inn. Very often, when we're well disposed for grace, we receive grace, we live in grace. There's no room at the inn. The world rejects him. And very often they reject us. They reject Christian ideas. You don't believe it? Take a look at our own country in the United States. Very frequently, if you hold just basic, decent Christian morals and virtues, you're rejected by the neo-pagan secular society. They look at you as though you're insane if something as outrageous as abortion bothers you. Remember that when Jesus was born at Christmas, it was cold that night, and it was dark that night, and he was rejected. No room at the inn. Where did they stay? In a poor stable? Cave? Couple animals? Don't be surprised that if you live a good, solid Catholic and Christian existence, filled with grace, trying to serve God and love God and know God, the world rejects you. And you suffer things. Jesus said, the servant is no different than his master. And if the master suffered cold, hunger, rejection, and so forth, why should we be surprised that at times we suffer from all those things and more? My dear friends, remember this. Your life and mine is an Advent, a preparation for the coming of God in our soul. Prepare well. The better we prepare, the more fully the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit will dwell within us. And that is how heaven begins. Our heaven begins now. For heaven is where God is. And God dwells in a soul in a state of grace.